In I Only Rest in the Storm, Sergio, played by Sergio Coagem, is a Portuguese environmental engineer who travels to the West African country of Guinea-Bissau to conduct an impact report for a road building project. As he grapples with heat and isolation, he meets Diara and Guillermina, two locals equally yearning to find their own way in life. But as tensions arise within their ambiguous relationship, and as Sergio understands the capitalist and post-colonial dynamics at play around his mission, they each have to confront how their identities shape them in a globalized world. I Only Rest in the Storm is directed by Pedro, Pinho, and he has previously directed films such as The End of the World and The Nothing Factory. I Only Rest in the Storm just debuted at the Cannes Film Festival in the Un Certain Regard section. I Only Rest in the Storm is quite an ambitious film. I have a little bit mixed feelings about the film. There's a lot I admire about the film, but there's a lot that left me frustrated about the film as well. The film is very, very long. It's over 3.5 hours long. I'll start off with what I liked about the film. It tackles a lot of interesting themes about Alberto, the Portuguese environmental engineer who is going into Africa to make a report about building this road between the cities and the villages, so the villages can have easier access to water. But he gets a lot of resistance from local African people who are not really for this new road, and the villagers are content with their life. They don't really like a lot of them, and they get a lot of mixed. A lot of them are for the project, and a lot of them are against the project. But the Africans that he meets who are against the project, they, as I said, they're content with their life, and they don't really want anybody interfering with their life. And when he talks to the locals, they're kind of like fearing that their life will be changing. Maybe that they see, or maybe this is good for us, but we're afraid that our culture will change, our life will change too much, even though we're content with our life. So Sergio does get a lot of resistance from the locals, and that part of the film was quite interesting. And in the middle section of the film, we see Sergio with other engineers, kind of like in the middle of nowhere, and he's like socializing and with these other engineers, and there's quite a lot of tension with the other engineers. Like, these engineers come from all over the world to help build this project, and that was another interesting part of the film. I really liked how the film started out. Sergio, he drives from Portugal all the way to Guinea-Bissau and on his car, and he just manages to get there, like almost dies, I guess. And that part of the film, it was interesting, him trying adapting to his environment. I'm not sure. I assume he's like a well-traveled man. I'm not sure if he's ever been to an African continent before, so this is maybe a whole new experience for him. But he manages to get to Guinea-Bissau alone, and then he goes to his room, and he meets the local people, and that part of the film was interesting. But for me, there's maybe two elements of the film that really hold me back from really embracing the film. Was the main character Sergio. He's not very well developed. Like, he's in most of the film, and the film is 3.5 hours long, but we're forced to go on with him on his journey, but he's a bit of a blank slate. We don't really get to know him very well. Don't really get to see what he's thinking. He's basically just a vessel for the viewer through this film, and it was kind of hard to get invested in him, his character and his story, when he's such an empty slate. And I just wish his characters are a little bit more developed. But the film does have a lot of interesting supporting characters, played by the African local, played by Cleo Diara, and the Brazilian immigrant, played by Jonathan Guilherme, I think. And they all had very interesting characters. So a lot of the supporting characters in the film are a lot more interesting than Sergio. And this film kind of has like a forced relationship between Sergio and the African local, played by Clara Diarra. Her character's name is Diarra. She's a very, it's kind of like, okay, he's the white immigrant and she's the beautiful African local, and it's just the film tries to force them together. And then in the second half of the film, when they finally get into sort of like a casual romantic relationship, it just feels forced. There's no chemistry, and it just feels like, okay, he's the only white guy here. He's young, he's sort of attractive, and he has a good job. Okay, let's just put them together. And I just didn't buy their relationship, and it really bogs the film down. I give I Only Rest in the Storm 2.5 stars out of 5. It does have a lot of interesting elements in the film, especially when Sergio is actually doing his job. He's doing the report for this road that is being built between the cities and the villages in Guinea-Bissau, and there's a lot of tension between the locals and other engineers in the country. But the film is bogged down by a very uninteresting character in Sergio, and the film is 3.5 hours long, and we have to stick with this very blank slate character. We don't really get to know him very well, and it's also bogged down by a very unforced romantic relationship between Sergio and one of the local African women, played by Cleo Diarra. So yeah, this is a bit of a mixed bag for me. There's a lot of interesting stuff that happens in this film, but it left me a little bit unsatisfied. So what did you think of I Only Rest in the Storm? Please comment below what you thought of the film. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.